Welcome to the Head Guy podcast. This podcast has been sponsored by Mahaba, the #1 destination guide here in Qatar. Pick up your copy in any local supermarket or go online to find out any information that you need to know about Qatar. My special guest, and I've been trying to get hold of her for the last 6 months, and she's been brushing me off. And finally, I have her in the studio, and you have been a previous guest as well, Milka.
Yes, I'm very lucky. I have been here before, and thank you so much for
You
being
have been
patient
here.
and
So it's
inviting me
Milka,
again.
the happy baker.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
You know, I've always been fascinated by you because, we had children at the same school, and I think you were. When were you trying to set up the last time? Was it around the same time as I had started Ginger Camel, or was I well into setting Ginger Camel up?
You were well into it already.
But I love your entrepreneurial spirit, and let's leave it at you had an experience setting up the Happy Baker. Was it going to be the Happy Baker? Was it going to be called that, or what?
It had another name due to the sponsorship.
Okay. Oh, that's right. So you had an experience, and then take us from there. What happened after? Where? All right. Give anyone listening going, oh, what are they on about? Milka, just give us an insight on what you do, so people listening will be able to get a sense of who you are and what you do, and then we can take them on that journey.
Yes. I bake sourdough bread, which is basically water, flour, and salt.
Compared to
processed bread.
Okay.
Where
right.
you would normally use artificial yeast. And you do that to speed up the process because, as we all know, time is money. And sourdough bread normally takes between 3 to 2 days to make one loaf. And it's a super healthy option. And I have been doing this since 2016. I have tried different ways to have this up running, but I have been very lucky to be part of the farmers market in Education City.
And that's where you went to after your experience? You went
Yes.
And you were selling your bread?
Yes.
And what was the response when you were selling your bread at the farmers market?
I met so many lovely people because bread is also about connection. For me, if we look into a lot of different religious ways, it's about sharing bread. And I met so many lovely people, I still have a very, very loyal customer base that follows me. And I mean, you have good customers when they are willing to follow you through your failures and success.
Absolutely. I'm just curious. So, sourdough bread, isn't it just the makeup of what bread used to be, how it was made originally?
Yes.
So why call it sourdough bread? Why not just call it the original bread? Or, why do we focus on why do we say sourdough?
You could call it that. When it goes back, as far as I know, my kids do say I'm that old, but I don't think so. It go back to the Stone Age, where their bread.
Rude. How rude.
It's actually quite funny. Where their bread were flat, but they were not as proper with the cleaning as we are now. And then this fermentation started to grow in the pots, and suddenly the bread rised because it is a fermentation. You mix water and flour. So it's a mixture of the germs you'll have in the air, the baker's hands, and the flour. And little by little, it would start growing. It starts bubbling. So, for example, the bread I brought today, it's the starter that is 8 years old.
What?
Yeah.
How do you get 8 years old, and how is that anything? Anything after a couple of weeks, my wife is throwing stuff out of the fridge. So
you will refresh the starter all the time. You add more flour, you add more water, and you discharge the old one. You maybe make pancakes or something from it. So you always refresh it. But it's a living thing. It's a culture. We call it a sourdough culture.
Right.
And because it gets very sour, so if you don't feed it, it's like children. If you don't feed them, they get upset, and the sourdough gets very sour, so you need to feed it. So it's actually, it makes sense.
Milka, can I just ask, do you talk to your bread?
Of course.
How did that not surprise me? How did that not surprise me?
It's a living thing, and you need to talk breadish and pray to the bread god and things like that. Okay, I sound completely like the crazy lady.
I think you need to have like something in your hair as well now with
Something like
leaves and flowers and stuff like that. Okay, so this is 8 years old. This is made from sourdough. Is that?
You use the starter. You call it a starter. The starter is only flour and water.
Okay.
And when you want to bake the night before, you add more flour and more water. And then in the morning, after 8 to 12 hours, depending on the ratio, it has growing like a big bubbly thing. And you mix it with more water and more flour. And then you have the dough.
Yeah, but where does the 8 years thing come from?
The what?
The 8 years. You said it.
It's the starter I keep in the fridge.
So that starter. But what is the starter? That's just flour and water. That's just been.
Nothing else.
So you take a pinch of that, or what?
I take some of it and refresh it so it grows more. The old one
So it's always living in your fridge.
Always.
Does it have to have a certain temperature?
Yes. The funny thing is, people always say, how do you make it? Because many people like this. Doesn't it die, or I can't keep it, or whatever?
Yeah.
The trick is, do not overthink it.
Okay.
Do not overthink anything.
Well, that's very true about life. Absolutely.
For example, I have some of the starter in my cottage in Denmark. And when I haven't been there for 2 or 3 months, the heat has not even been turned on. And it's black and it's smelly and it's disgusting. But you take a little bit and you refresh it a couple of times and it's alive again. There is a tale that it was actually brought over the Atlantic many, many years ago in a sock, because you can actually dry it so it becomes like small flakes.
Yeah.
And you just add water and a little bit of flour and you still have the germs kept inside this dry flakes. So I would say you cannot kill it, but it needs love and attention. So you can read a lot, but at the end of the day, you need to feel it. You need to look at it, and I think it's a love-hate relationships, because sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want.
So it plays around. It has a mind of its own sometimes. I can see that frustration in your face, Milka, that you've had. It's like naughty children now and again.
Yeah, I would say now I have done this for how many years? 7 years. So of course a lot of experience have helped. I have done a lot of traineeships with brilliant sourdough bakers all around the world, and because we all have different techniques.
Are you all on the same kind of level, you sourdough people?
I will say I'm very humble. I always have something to learn. But we talk the same language.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of wackiness about sourdough people?
I think we're just very nerdy with things.
Yeah.
Very nerdy.
Do you think it's in the sourdough bread itself that kind of, do you believe in the whole healthy gut?
Yes.
So this is perfect for the healthy gut.
That is why I started it, because I myself have bleeding ulcer.
Oh, really?
I couldn't eat processed bread, and I got really, really sick. And I was thinking there must be another way around it. So that's why I started educating myself within this and read about it and try to do it. And I'm telling you, the first loaves I made, they were really, really not pretty. But it was bread, and it has the healthy culture. Then you can always work with how you want it to look and the crumb and all these things. But it's always healthy, and that's why I say to people, you can't go wrong. Eat it. It still tastes good. The rest is just for your own satisfactory, that it looks nice or the crumb is nice, or you can play around with it. So yeah, it's definitely a healthy thing.
And I thank you for bringing the bread today, and we will sample it at the end of the show. And you brought butter, which I basically preached to my family that's what we should be eating, not margarine. for reasons, for the gut, and you brought some salt and garlic flakes. Is it? Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. So you are very passionate about sourdough, baking in general. Is it just bread that you focus on, or is there an extension of that?
I focus mainly on sourdough breads, and I do different kinds of breads. And it's because I like the health benefits and I like the process of it. You need to be very, very patient. So for me, it's a very good thing because I'm not a patient person. So I'm not teaching sourdough. The sourdough is teaching me. But beside the bread, I do cakes as well. Because I believe you can still eat cake every day if you eat healthy bread.
Ah. So the cake isn't as healthy as the bread?
No. It's cake. It's full of sugar.
I thought you were going to educate us that you create this amazing cake that we could all eat.
Probably many sourdough bakers will now not be happy with me saying this, but I tried all kinds of cakes with sourdough, and I think we need to keep things separate. Cakes need to be proper cakes with sugar, eggs, all these things, and then we have the sourdough on the other side.
Okay, let's go back to business. You were at the farmer's market, you had a following, and they followed you on your journey. Then what happened?
We rented a huge villa so I could provide more bread for farmer's market. And it was a lovely place. And then we had this little pandemic called COVID.
Just that little one, yeah.
Yeah, that little one. And I think for everybody it turned our lives upside down. And my husband being in aviation, we had to take a decision that me and the 3 kids, we moved back to Denmark. And husband stayed here, fingers crossed that he wouldn't lose his job.
And how was that for you? Because with this small pandemic, I felt it was like a reset button for a lot of people. You know, it should have been a reset button for the whole world, but you know, where a lot of people are trying to get back to where they were before the pandemic. How was it for you in regards to, you know, you're baking, you're enjoying your, you have a following, you have customers, etc., etc. How was that for you to then suddenly not have that? Going back to Denmark as well?
I think I felt like I lost my identity. I lost my husband. He was still here. I have been together with him for 31 years. So we are like best friends. He's always there for me. So that, of course, was really, really hard. I lost my business. I cried every time people texted me, "Are you coming back? We miss your bread." And I was like, "Oh." So I tried to set my business up in Denmark. And what I found out was during COVID in Denmark, I had some of these special built oven scents, and I was baking in my garage, and I was just running around in the street throwing bread at my neighbors, and they got so happy and they liked the bread. And I also had the realization, for me, yes, it's nice to have a good business, but that is not it for me. It's the connection with people. It's the passion of baking the bread and sharing it with somebody. So I was trying to set my business up in Denmark, and then we had another disaster hitting, the war in Ukraine, which affected the electricity prices and all the flour prices and everything in Europe. So I just said, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, who would have known that Ukraine was one of the main providers of flour?
Yeah.
How did that come about? I thought flour was produced by every country, especially Europe. But when it came to Russia invading Ukraine, it was just like, you know, that is the main exporter of flour, of wheat and flour.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, and they also export, we have all the gas coming from there for our electricity in Europe. So of course we were affected a lot in Denmark. We saw it straight away on all the prices. I know in the UK it was the same, right? So,
yeah. So it wasn't a viable option for you to...
No, it wasn't. So I would say it was not just that, but it was also on the personal level that me and my husband just said, okay, we don't know how we're going to do this, but we need to be together. And the aviation industry in Europe wasn't an option. So I missed everything down here, and I was lucky my husband missed me as well.
That's very lucky.
My kids, they missed the life down here, and I'm very happy to be a Danish citizen, but I also believe that there's no place where everything is just perfect. There's good and bad everywhere. There's good and bad wherever you go, but you have to look at yourself and your life and say, what is the right thing for you to do? And the right thing for us was to be together here in Doha.
Okay. So you came back?
Yeah.
And it was like a whirlwind. It just arrived back in Doha. Milka was back. And we all knew about it. Literally, your social media came alive.
Yeah.
Milka has landed. So how has that journey been? And how different was it post-COVID?
It was very different. And you know, my name is Milka the Happy Baker. And I have always said, I tried to be unhappy before. That's why I went back to the happy. And I was unhappy in Denmark. So I came back, was happy, all is good. And it was very different because I was very determined. This time, the business needs to be running now. I have waited so long, so I was doing it. And I had a contact to a sponsor here who would sponsor my business. And I was all into it. And I was like, we're doing it. I have always said, I want to own it myself. I've been to the minister so many times pre-COVID, and it wasn't possible. And then I suddenly heard that there was a possibility that I could own my own business. And I was like, okay, let's go to the minister again for 117 times. It's like they're saying in there, hello, Milka, are you there again? Asking about the ownership.
Yeah, but hold on. Every time that you went to the ministry, did you bring some bread or did you bring something? Because they would never forget you.
Actually, I did not the first couple of times because I asked them if I could bring it, and they declined it politely because we should not mix anything.
Okay, fair enough. Yes.
And I think that's really a good point. But afterwards, I had my ownership. I went in and said thank you with breads. Yes,
superb.
Of course.
Is there any opportunity of actually going into? Is there a distinction between why you've got 100% ownership, or compared to someone else? What allowed you to have 100% ownership? Because you're one of the first people that I've heard actually having 100% ownership. Well,
there is a set of rules that you have to follow, and then again, there are certain sectors where you can get it under, and it's via Qatar Invest, which is situated in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And I have to say, the service I have gotten there is outstanding. They are extremely helpful. No matter where I've been, if it has been to the municipality or whoever I have dealt with, I have always felt that the level of know-how and service is actually really high. But you need to know what to ask for. You need to be the one doing your homework. So there is a process you can go through, and I can only recommend to go to Qatar Invest. And then you have to do, of course, a business plan, which I have learned is a business map, because you will have to adjust along the way, because you might start out, as I did, with one idea, and now you see you have to go in another direction. And you will have to provide 3 years of finances, of what do you call it, budgets, establishment budgets. You have to write something about why is it good for the economy in Qatar. And I was sitting a bit, my little business, how is that good for the economy? But it's not only money-wise, it's also socioeconomics. I have chosen to focus on that because I would like to train people to have a traineeship as bakers, because I see there's only one option here, is to have higher education. And I don't think we are all meant to have higher education. We also need hands. We need people to be trained and learn just the value of getting up in the morning. You need to go, you need to do stuff. So that was the economic I could help with. And I think that is really important as well. If you read the vision for Qatar 2030, there's a lot about that quality of work and these things. So Yeah, you have to submit a lot of papers, and there's a long list. You can go there and get it, and you have to submit all the papers. They'll have a look at it, and
And they give you feedback. You have to tweak it, do you? And
you'll have feedback. You'll know everything goes online. They'll tell you need to submit, or this is not okay, or so. Yeah, if you hit the right processes and the sectors that it's possible within, and then again, it's under the 100% discretion of what they want and what they don't want. So
nice. And did you have to have a facility, or were you promising that I will have a facility to?
See, there's more steps to this, because I only have my CR, meaning I'm 100% owner, founder, everything.
Okay.
So that's only the right to have a business.
Yes.
The next step is to have a trade license.
And that's
so
where
I can actually trade.
All right.
And that is where I need, because mine is taken out within bakery. So you have to choose the activity.
Mm-hmm.
And mine activity is bakery. So I need to have a premises that is, of course, civil defense approved, and all these things, all rules and regulations need to be followed. And then again, you have to submit the rental agreement and everything that comes with that, and pictures and lots of stuff. But it might seem very overwhelming, but at the end of the day, it's just papers. It's just something that you need to do, and you'll submit that, and then you have your CR, and then afterwards you will have to have your computer cards, which give you access to everything online, and you need to pay your taxes and all these things. So because there is taxes on companies, so you need to do that as well.
So where are you on this journey?
I have the CR.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm looking for a location.
Okay. How's that going?
You say success is built on a pile of failure, so I'm really on the way to success here.
And what does a baker look for? Are you looking to rent a kitchen? Excuse me. Or are you looking for an actual premises to operate from, so you've got an actual shop window? What's in your mind? Take us there.
Yeah. Okay. So in my mind, I was dreaming of this boutique bakery, which I also think a lot of my customers were dreaming of. And I looked, and I have negotiated with really good places. But see, having the ownership for a micro business is a new thing here. And it has to sift down through the layers, also to landlords, to understand the concept of micro businesses. And of course, that will take time. So with that being said, the rents and location I have been looking at does not match my budget. So what do you do then? You go back and look at your business map and say, what can I do? So right now I'm looking for premises to produce. And I'm working with a very brilliant photographer, Ella Al-Thani. She does these amazing pictures where she really sees my bread. So yeah, and I start crying again when I see the pictures. And a lovely marketing lady.
Are they both sourdough fanatics as well, are they?
Yes, they like bread. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And they see my business. See, I've always done everything myself. So having help is like, it's a huge thing actually.
Yeah.
And especially when they tell you, I see your business like this, and you can feel this resonate with me. So these two amazing ladies is helping me to build a storefront shop online.
Superb.
Yeah. And then I need a premises to produce. And hopefully in time, when that is up running, I can have actually outlets. But everything comes in due time.
You know what? While you were talking, I popped into a Danish coffee shop maybe a couple of months ago. And I went there specifically because I thought, there's a Danish coffee shop in Doha. It's got to have the best pastries. I was disappointed. I'm sorry. It was tiny, nothing like a Danish pastry should be. And and they kicked me out. Actually, they kicked me out at 5 o'clock because they were closing, and I was having a business meeting with a CEO, and it was just like about 10 to 5. It was just like, okay, you'll have to leave now. And I think we had arrived about 4:30, and it was just like, what? A coffee shop closing? So I was disappointed about them closing, but also that they didn't have proper Danish pastry. So if there's a way that, you could use their kitchen and offer that you could, I'm just saying.
Danish pastry is something that is in the plan I would like to do, but it requires a special table where you can roll the dough automatically, because if you do it by hand, I'm getting old. I can't do that.
Oh, you're not getting old.
And
no.
it's quite expensive. So being a micro business, you have to think, okay, you need to create something first. You start selling something, then you have a bit of surplus, hopefully, and then you can invest in more machinery. So you need to grow organically, and that's the difference with not having a sponsor or having an investor. And I have been offered having an investor, but for me it's really important that there is something to invest in.
Well, this is it. An investor doesn't just invest for the sake of investing.
No.
He wants a return from what you make.
Exactly.
And, if the numbers don't work out, then what's the point?
Yeah.
When you were doing the business plan, did you see there is a potential to, make a profitable company?
I wouldn't be doing this just because I like baking sourdough bread.
I hear you.
I, of course, would like to have a sustainable business. I would like to be able to make my own retirement funds. I would like to pay for my kids going to their activities, of course, without losing the authenticity.
But do you think enough people would buy into this to make it a successful business? Do you think there is the not the knowledge, but the awareness of how good sourdough bread is for you, etc., etc.? I know, look, we've been on a journey. Well, the whole world's been on a journey about health and awareness, etc. But there's still a very tiny proportion of people that know the benefits about gut health, about sourdough, natural food produce. Is it going to make a successful business with the small percentage? Because you got to look at the population here as well.
It is also about education, but and that is why I've always also moved to the production place, because I already have some B2B customers that are quite huge.
Okay.
And they want to have it because they know about it and because of the quality, and it's a delicacy. It's not just bread. So I already have some things set up.
I'm just curious, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we start something because we're passionate about it. And
Definitely.
I hear that, I see that, I've been following you, and you are passionate about sourdough, baking, etc., etc. But are you not worried that the business will get to a point where the enjoyment has to be pushed to one side and it's literally business focused, money focused? How are you going to retain that, joy?
See, that's a business secret.
No, it's not a business secret. It's just how you personally will keep
I know what you're saying. And it is, you are tapping into something, especially as an entrepreneur, because you have a passion, but you also need to be very, very focused on what is it you do. You need to be very clean with your numbers. You need to be very conservative when you do your budgets and say what is actually possible. So to do this on a personal level, I'm lucky I've married really well, but we live in a one-bedroom apartment, and there's nothing to cry about here because a one-bedroom apartment here is 185 square meters, so it's not like we are crammed in. And we have an old car, and it's nice because it's paid. But we made these decisions because we want to be able to sleep at night. We don't want to overstrain things. And I need this business to grow organically. And that's why I have had some been very lucky to settle some good business deal with B2B. So once this is up running, they will start taking the bread already. And one of them, I am allowed to say, it's a Henat Selmat farm, which is a eco farm here in Doha, where they have. It's just lovely. You need to go and see it.
Can you go there? Can anyone go there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's like a retreat. They have yoga, and during the winter they have like whole weekends. They grow their own crops. They even have their own flour and things like that. And it taps into my belief of healthiness. So yeah, I think it's possible. And the numbers, I think they work out. And I'm very conservative with numbers. And again, I just need to be able to take out a salary.
That leads nicely on to my next question. How do you look after yourself? Health, mental and physical.
Yeah. Okay, so every month I make like this huge poster where I put what are the goals for the month. And up here in one corner it says Milka. And when at the end of the month, all of that should be ticked off. If something is not ticked off, it's the corner saying Milka. But yes, I'm very aware because I have actually been battling skin cancer for the last 2 years. I'm not going to die from it, but I do have skin removed once in a while. And that also made me realize we do not live forever. Yes.
Well, when we get older, we realize that, the end is coming closer and closer. So
yes. So I have something saying I need to be at bed at 10 o'clock. I don't always do that. I tend to exercise almost every day.
So do you have a routine? I'm just curious.
Yes.
How does your routine look like?
See, me and my husband, we have an online thing because he travels a lot. So we have this online coach and he trains us. It's only 20 minutes and it's an app. So you can do it wherever you are. So whenever he's in a hotel and I don't have to waste time going to a gym, I just roll out the mattress at home and you just do it.
Yeah.
And we send pictures to each other sweating. So we know, oh my goodness, he did it now. Now I have to do it as well. So it's a good thing.
Is it, I can just imagine your husband thinking, oh, no, I can't be bothered. I've just been on a long haul flight and let's splash a bit of water, put on the
you think he'd do
exercise.
that? See,
I'm just saying, he's a man.
I'm so naive. I'm just...
I'm just saying. No, I have my routine and I'm very disciplined. And that's why I love to hear what other people do and, if they do it or not. But is your husband the type that is very disciplined or?
Yes.
Oh, so So,
he is.
All right, I'll take that back. He probably is doing it.
He is. I can see it working. But actually the most important part for me is for the last couple of years, I have been meditating. I like to rise very early in the morning.
What time?
Before 4:35.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I like it because I like the quietness in the morning. And people might think I'm crazy when I say this, but I can get excited in the night just thinking about I'm going up next morning. I'm so excited to wake up because it's a brand new day. Light is here, sun is here.
I'm with you. I'm the same. I get up at 3:30.
Yeah?
So my routine now is 3:30, get up, and then I have a cold bath. Because if you haven't tried a cold bath, you've got to try a cold bath. And if Chris Thompson's listening, he goes the extra extreme where it's literally cold bath. So you know what it's like getting into a cold lake, etc. It's generally about 16 to 18 degrees. His cold dip baths are from 12 to 7. And I was in it last week and I got into a 7-degree bath and oh my, I've never felt cold like it. And I couldn't talk. It was just unbelievable. But back to my routine, I get into a cold bath that I've left from the previous night. It gets cold with the AC, etc. So I bet it's about 20 anyway. But it still gives you that rush. And it really wakes me up. Then I take the dogs for a walk. Then I do my meditation, journal, into the gym for half an hour. then I come back, and then I get the kids ready for school, do their packed lunches, and then I drive them to school, and then I'm into work. As you said, the night before, my batteries are literally, you get up at 3:30, you're literally lucky to survive till about 8 or 7:30. So my wife's like, oh, you're off to bed then. She used to complain at the beginning, but now it's just like, okay, she accepts it because she knows that to get the best out of me, I have to have that routine, and I love it. As you say, in the morning, no one's up. It's so quiet. It's beautiful. It's just like you're there on your own. You're greeting the morning. And as you say, we're the crazy people, but I say to people, no, we're not the crazy ones. We're the normal ones that appreciate everything that's given to us. You're the crazy people who missed all this, who don't have a routine, that literally let time take over, and you're literally randomly getting up, etc., etc. We know what's good for us. We literally tap into that.
And it's especially the meditation, I find, now you're asking, how do you take care of yourself? How do you keep the business goal clear? Because you need to do that. During meditation, you can choose to focus on different things. And often this is a learning doing a business. If I look back, sometimes I think, oh, I'm never getting anywhere. And I look back and I see how far I actually came. And you can try to, if I think something is not working out, I just say, okay, you don't have to solve it all now. Just put it aside, have a think about it, and normally you get the answer. It works out.
But that's your inner voice that's telling you, look, you don't have to. Yeah.
And I have always been a very stressful person, always running and doing, and so it's good for me not to run that much. So and in Denmark, actually now, for depression, they use ice bathing because it releases the endorphins that makes you happy. So you can actually get from the doctor prescription that you need to go to a club doing ice baths, because we just bathe in the lake in winter. So it is a thing.
Yeah, no, I'm literally ordering mine. That experience stepped it up for me in regards to that. The way I felt afterwards was just like the endorphins and everything. It was just literally released, and I literally felt that for the rest of the day, and it was just amazing. So yes,
good on you.
Thank you very much.
I'm impressed, I must say. That's the next level.
No, it is. No, but when you wake up, there's this kind of grogginess thing, but as soon as you get into that bath, it's all gone. It's just an amazing feeling, and it literally gets me going for the rest of the day.
And how do you do it in the summer? Because water gets very hot here.
Well, that's why I leave it from the night before AC. But when I ordered his unit, the ice bath, it's got a generator that is literally cycling the water to a constant temperature that you decide.
That's next level.
It is next level. It could fit in your one-bedroom flat as well. Just
with the 2 dogs, with the kids.
I've got 3 dogs, and with the kids, etc., etc. No, I'm sure there's a place in the bathroom, or because the bathrooms aren't tiny, are they? So there might be a space. So I'm just saying. Check out my episode. I think it's going out in a couple of weeks. So
Oh, I'm interested.
Well, actually, you're after this, so wherever it is. Anyway, guys, just check out Chris Thompson ice baths. It will be coming out. So yes, looking forward, are we excited? Are we, where do you see yourself in a couple of years' time?
Well, I'm super excited because so much stuff is happening right now. And as always, here you have to be a bit precautious of what you say until something is confirmed. But I have been extremely lucky to get a lot of good options. So I'm looking into them now, and we are talking about if we can work together, or I should be on my own, or how exactly we are doing it. But in a couple of years, I hope that my business is running really well. I have a platform doing education for classes for schools that comes and for a couple of hours and do some baking. I hope I'm doing courses as well up at the hen at Selma Farm during the weekends. And I hope to have a couple of outlets where it's being sold, and I can have more products in my range. I have a dream of maybe at one point going to Saudi as well.
Well, I was going to say that, but my first question before the Saudi bit was, has the like here in Qatar, have you seen a huge change? Because you've been here quite a long time. When did you first arrive in Qatar?
2011.
Yes, so still that's a long time.
Yeah.
So have you seen how Qatar's progressed when it comes to being more health conscious?
Absolutely.
More entrepreneurs going into that
Absolutely.
field, and has that made it more easier for you to come back and go?
I think so, because a lot of things have changed, and we must remember that it has taken us 300 years to reach the level we are at in Europe, and this country have been going now for like 50 years like this.
I always tell people that. It's just like, don't be hard on Qatar
No,
when it's
exactly.
taken you,
Yeah.
your country, this long. Yeah.
And that's why I'm always say I'm so full of respect for this country, because it's a very fast-paced journey, and you can't do it all at once. So I see a lot of change, and actually with now we can start to just, what do you call it when you are taking cardboard aside and plastic aside?
Recycling.
Thank you. I see that a lot more. We do it at home. We have done it for a long time, and we bring it ourselves as a container in the Pearl where we can put everything in. These things makes me really happy, and you can see how the use of plastic bags is almost gone.
Oh, yes, because I arrived in 2006, and that always angered me, that the amount of plastic that they kept on putting into your supermarket trolley. It was just like, no, I don't need one plastic bag for one item. I can put all the items in one plastic bag. And it just pleases me to see that there is this whole, no, all the plastic bags now have to be recycled.
Yeah. So, of course, a lot of things have changed, and I think the step we are at now, where it's possible to have ownership, will make it more diverse, because there is a tendency to just having big corporations here, and it's all manager, it's all ready-made, it's the big change. But again, as human beings, we want connection with the business, and you need to know who is behind the business as well. Because after all, you are responsible to your customers of your products, and there is a need for that. So they are moving absolutely in the right direction with doing this. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you mentioned about Saudi.
Yeah.
What's the vision, Milka?
It's just so funny, because me and my husband just went to this meeting also regarding my business, and we were taking the metro home, which I love as well. We can reduce all the driving. I love the metro, and it's super easy. You take a bus there, and so all good for the metro. And we are going back home, and I see this family standing, and we have just been talking about, my husband and me, maybe there would be a possibility to, once this is up running, I have been very, what do you call it, accurate with putting everything down to detail. So everything is documented. So it would be easy for me. I know the first time is always the hardest. It's like having children, right? And then you learn. So it would be easy to take it and copy paste somewhere else. And we were talking about, how is the market in Saudi? Maybe that was a possibility. And then there's this family standing at the metro, and they can't really figure out where to go. And I said, oh, excuse me, do you need any help? And we start chatting. And of course, they are from Saudi. And of course, this guy have just finished his degree in food something in Switzerland.
No.
And he was looking to start some baking in Saudi.
Wow.
Like, what? So we exchanged phone number, and nothing more have happened than that. But it's just to say, if you are open and always being helpful to other and being genuine, and remember to say thank you, I think things works out. And what is meant to be for you, you will have. And what wasn't meant to be, you will not have. So.
That is perfect. That is a great way to finish this show. Thank you, Milka. It's been a pleasure. And I'm just waiting to dive into the bread and enjoy the bread, and check out Milka's Instagram page. That's where you're at the moment. We were talking before the show that you will be going on LinkedIn and Facebook, so people will be able to find you. So it is Milka the Happy Baker. Check her out. She'll be popping up all over the place, and she will be landing in Saudi, however. So stay tuned, and I'm sure the UAE, I'm sure Oman, I'm sure Bahrain. So because I know this lady's energy, so just stay with it, follow her, and yes, I wish you all the best, Milka.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching and listening. And just a quick shout out to our sponsor. It's Mahaba, the #1 destination guide here in Qatar. Pick up your copy in any local supermarket and or go online to find out all the information you need to know about Qatar. Take care. Have a great week.